Brock here with Monarch. I want to go over a couple more training videos with you. Right now we're at a residential location. What I want to do is I'm going to show you kitchen cleaning in a residential location, but it does apply in our commercial locations too, in their areas where they have kitchenettes or lunchrooms or things of that nature. Quickly, I want to go over something with you regarding uniform. Everyone will always hear me talking about uniform and the importance of wearing one on site always. It's very important to me. It means a lot to me that you wear a uniform. I do understand with the winter season, it's getting a little bit colder, and you can see I have no problem with you putting a long sleeve shirt underneath. And this is our older uniform, so it's a little bit thicker. I don't have any more of these currently. I like the new style shirt. It's much, has a longer life to it and holds up a lot better with a lot of washes. These tend to fade after time. So again, you can wear a long sleeve shirt as well as you can wear a hat, but my thing with a hat is if you're looking for a hat, contact me about a hat because we have Monarch hats. Anything we can keep you in uniform is greatly appreciated, as well as some locations, they like us not to wear hats. So please check in with me again before wearing a hat on site at your location. Now we're going to carry on into kitchen cleaning. And I'm just going to kind of give you an idea here. So at this residential location, you can see they've got dishes in their sink. First thing I'm going to do though is what I always talk about is I want gloves on. That's really important. And again, when you're putting your gloves, this glove, I changed my gloves. So I just came out of a washroom and was cleaning a washroom. You need a new set of gloves. Anytime you leave an area and go into another area, you need to put different gloves on. So if you're in a commercial location and you're doing garbages and then you switch to go into a bathroom, you should change your gloves. Anytime you go to a new space, you should change your gloves. Anyways, moving on. So this here wouldn't be our responsibility. In this particular location, I've spoke with the client and they know that anytime that this occurs, we're to leave it. But even though they want us to leave that and not do the dishes, sometimes what I'll do, if it's a small amount of dishes, I would clean it for them because it's just that much easier and nice to do for them. Or if they have a dishwasher, I may load it, but that's based on communication with the client. However, in this case, because I want to briefly show you how we're going to clean the sink and the counter area, and then right to this stove area, and then what we might do on any cupboards, I'm just going to set this aside for now and out of the way so that I can show you the basic part of the video, which is kitchen cleaning. And again, if you were at a location where we weren't supposed to clean any of the dishes that were in there, this is also what you should do. You should empty out the sink the best way that you can and put it in another area, and then when you're finished cleaning, you can come back and do that. These sorts of things, I never use a client's cloth that they have on site. I usually generally set it aside. Sometimes they can get it pretty nasty and whatnot. So first things first, what I'm going to do, there's some food particles as you can see on the counter and whatnot. We're going to wipe that all up, but first things first is I'm going to give this sink just a quick rinse, and then I'm going to start to fill it with some warm water. And we always have some Dawn dish soap on site here. And this is kitchen cleaning and how it should occur in any location, not just residential, but even in the commercial spots. I know we have a lot of spray bottles out there and people are using spray bottles to spray down counters and that. This is a better way and a more thorough way to do it, and it does a better job. So we're going to go through this real quickly here. So I got my green cloths, of course. Remember, going back, that blue is only used in bathrooms. Bathrooms only. There should never ever be a blue cloth present in a kitchen area or any other area but a bathroom. So now I got my sudsy water in here. I'm going to go ahead and kind of start taking a look and wiping down things. I've got a dry one in my hand and I've got this one in my hand. And I'm going to wipe these areas on the cupboards because they're the most high traffic areas. And you'll see how quickly you can go through that it doesn't take a long period of time. But again, this is a pretty clean kitchen considering, even with it being relatively dirty in this present time, you can tell that these things are wiped often. So I'm looking for any marks on these cupboards in these main areas so that I can move on. Even a light switch, which is in this area here, I'm gonna give it a quick wipe over, because again, they're touched all the time. Then I'm gonna take a quick peek as we go down lower here. Again, looking at their main areas. You don't have to give the cupboards a full wipe down. If the client asks for it, that's different. In a situation like this, where this is a daily once over, you wanna give it a wipe in the areas that it's built up. There might be some spillover from the coffee that they've had in that day, or things of that nature. But again, these aren't too bad. So it takes nothing to take the time to go through to do this. Now, I've wiped those areas down real quickly. I'm gonna move over to the stove. And again, we're gonna give that a wipe and a dry. Now you can see closely here how some of this has built up. If that happens, it's a simple solution as well. You can grab your barkeeper's friend, put it on there, and again, I like to use just my hand when I have my cloth on and put it on those areas and let it sit. If you don't want to use it like this way, use your cloth. But this way I can kind of put it where I like it. Put another little splash on there, and then just simply run my hands along the areas. And the reason I like it is because I can feel where that's built up. I can feel where it's built up. And because I've been here before in this location, I know what's gonna come off and what's not going to come off. But for now, I'm going to leave that to sit, and I'm gonna come back over into my sink. I'm gonna rinse out my cloth, and I'm gonna carry on with wiping these counters. Again, now I can give this a nice wipe, and I can come right behind it and dry it. When I come right behind it and dry it, I don't get that wet look that comes with it. And you notice how I'm not doing much on the sink just yet? I'm kind of just going in and around it, because it's gonna be the last thing that I do. In these areas here, where there's not many things to take care of, like this is a quick lift. Quick lift, pick it up. Pull this out, excuse me, everybody's gonna have that happen when they're working. And I'm gonna slide it back in, and I'm gonna put this into the corner and put it there as well. Same thing with this. Just gonna slide it forward. If this was a regular thing that I did each night, say I'm at a location where we're in there each night and I knew I had already moved that the night before, then I might go, you know what, I don't need to do that every night in a row. I can kind of slide in and give it a wipe like this. But you have to know that it's been done before you start cutting those sorts of corners, because if you don't, the client will notice it, and then we'll have to handle it in that way. We want to get to everything before a client notices things, of course. So that's my counter and my cupboards all taken care of. And now I'm going to come back to the stove, rinse my cloth again, the barkeeper's friend where I've had it sitting there. And if you're rinsing your cloth and it sprays out, just give it a quick wipe. These things happen. So now I'm going to come over here and give this a wipe off. And you can actually see some of these marks disappearing instantly just from that sitting, which is nice. I wiped around this one here where they're missing a burner. And in these spots here, you can see some of it staying, but you can also see some of it coming out. Now these will come out over time. And I know that we're not going to spend like hours and hours scrubbing these sorts of things, but if we do a little bit each visit, then we can stay on top of them. If you're in a commercial location and you're wiping these kinds of areas, not too often will you run into a place where they have a stove, but you are going to see a lot of coffee makers and things of that nature. Just wipe all of the things that matter. Things that we're going to get touched often, it takes nothing to go through. Okay? Wipe that there because I can see that. And now I'm going to move back over to my sink with my two cloths here. So I'm going to rinse out my cloth again. Now this is one of the most important things, because get a good look at all of the watermarks that are left on this sink here. You can see how it's built up. They likely have hard water here. And that's just a reality. I'm going to empty this out first. I'm going to take my plugs from my drains out. I'm going to rinse that soap down. And most places where you go in commercial, they're going to constantly pour coffee down the drains. You can't see that here, they don't do it, but a lot of times you'll see it built up in these areas if they do. Again, you don't need a lot of this Barkeeper's Friend. Like a little goes a long way. That's a couple drops in each. And now I'm gonna take it and I'm going to cover by wiping off. Look at how quickly that took out those marks. And I haven't even let that sit yet. But instantly, like, and in those areas where if it's built up more, I put a little bit on there and I just leave it to sit. And it'll go away instantly. This tap here is a little bit beat up. I get that. We're gonna run into locations where it does have that, but that doesn't mean we still can't give things a good clean just because they have a tap that's not in great shape or not functioning. It doesn't mean that we should leave it because of that. We wanna give everything a good once over. Again, I'm gonna go into this sink now. Make sure I cover, and I'm gonna put a little bit more here. If you look down in there, there's a, must have been, they've obviously set something in this sink, like a paint can. Look at, that's coming right off now. Where a paint can or something like that was in there, and it rusted a little bit on there. But this is that Barkeeper's Friend and how great it works. And that's not even using a ton of it. I get it, each night you don't want to spend hours in an area, but I've only been showing this video now for 11 minutes, and I'm almost done this area. But this is the kind of thoroughness that should be completed in each cleaning. So now, it's been completely wiped down. I'm gonna rinse my cloth again. In there, and I'm gonna give everything a nice little kind of wipe over again, making sure that, you know, it shines, getting these drains in that. And I still have one dry cloth remaining that I can grab and use, and that's why I always like to keep a few on there. So now I'm gonna get the tap all the way down, and I'm gonna dry off the areas where I was. Simple as that. Now you can see that there is still some hard watermark showing there. So again, this is gonna happen in some of your locations. I don't expect us to go for hours and hours on spots like that if they're like that. But what we can do is a little by little each night. And if we stay on top of it, that's just using your fingernail there. Sometimes that'll do the job. If we stay on top of those marks, you're never going to have any buildup like that. So quickly here, I'm gonna do one more thing just while I've got the video. If you notice, you're like, that marks, those are still on there. You know, how can I get that off? We're just gonna leave that to sit for a second. Again, I like it like that. I like to put it on like that because you can feel the rough coarseness underneath your fingers. And it's not getting through, I've got a glove on. So I'm gonna let that sit for a second here. You can see the rest of the sink, how it's shining up here. And if there's any areas where you need to kind of, you might leave it and then you might be coming back through at the end when you're doing floors and you might notice, oh, there's a bit of a film. Then you just simply go back in with your cloth and give it a wipe up, shine it up. So this area now, I'm gonna try it again. Just give it a little bit of a heavier scrub. I try into my very best not to have to use real scrubbing type cloths like SOS pads and that. They can scratch a sink. I know this sink is quite scratched, but still, we don't want to be doing that. But you can see how already, just from adding a little bit more, how I've removed that. Now, you might, like I said, maybe tomorrow night I'll spend a little bit more time on those areas again where it had built up. But tonight, I'm gonna finish, and that's going to be that. And then again, I'm gonna put my things back, my sink drain plugs back in. Give them a quick wipe too. They also end up catching a lot of food and things like that, so they need to have a wipe. Set them back in, set that back in. Give it a wipe down, put their cloth back, because again, the way you found it. In this case, when I came in here, I know there was lots of dishes in the sink, so that's how I found it. The other thing that I'm gonna do in this case at this house is I'm gonna load the dishwasher. If I was in a spot where you couldn't do that, you put the sink, the dishes back in the sink. I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean by that. So I may take some of these like this and just simply set them back in the sink. And then they'll be there for when they come in the next day. But in a location where they may have wanted you to load a dishwasher, that's where these would go. But either way, now the sink is clean, the counters are clean, and everything is good to go. So that is basically our kitchen cleaning video. If you have any questions about it, always make sure to send me a text and I can go over them very quickly with you at any location that you're in. Thanks, and we'll talk to you all soon.